Welcome to GC Cars. My name is Eric and today we got the 2021 Kia Seltos SX Turbo. And I'm really excited for this one. Why? Well, I've had the pleasure of reviewing quite a few cars and trucks already, but somehow, and I feel like that might have been on purpose by the manufacturers, I never gotten two cars out of the same segment within a certain amount of time. That means I was never able to compare two vehicles in a segment based completely on my own experience. That changes today because not very long ago I was able to review the Chevrolet Trailblazer, which is just like this Kia Seltos, a subcompact SUV. So let's bring it on with this review, but first of all, why don't we just take a brief look at the exterior. Okay, Kia Seltos exterior impressions. I think it looks pretty good for an SUV. They got some cool touches. First of all, the headlights go all the way down here on this. From here you would just think it's metal trim. It's actually just like in the Sonata, it's like light and metal at the same time. Look pretty cool at night. The grille also has like this angular design that just makes it look a little more upscale. The whole car looks way more expensive, I think, than it actually is. At the same time, the paint we have on here, this orange pops really nice. You get some cool reflections going on with the sun. I would personally choose the yellow, but I'm a sucker for yellow. But I like this orange. Just moving on further to the side, I gotta admit I'm not a big fan of the wheels. They're creative and there's something different. I just don't really like the looks of them, I'll be honest. And on the side we got the chrome trim running around the bottom of the windows, and of course at the bottom of the doors we have like black, some of it glossy, some of this plastic trim just to hide visual mass. You know what they usually do on SUVs to make it look a little smaller. Going to the rear of the Seltos, same thing going on here. Some interesting touches with the kind of fake exhaust on the sides and the fake skid plate. In general, it just looks more expensive than it is, and I like the design of the Seltos. But make sure if you got a different opinion, or if you maybe even have the same opinion, write it down in the comments and tell me what you think of the Seltos. Does it look better, maybe compared to the Trailblazer, or whatever else you think? Anyhow, let's just go back to the review. Welcome back from the exterior. Remember, if you like the video, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any more videos. Also, every subscriber helps me, don't go into my road, thank you sir, helps me get cool cars. We just recently had an Infiniti Q60S, for example, 400 horsepower, was pretty nice. Anyhow, let's start it off with the drivetrain. 1.6 liter turbo 4 in this Kia Seltos. The base Seltos, Seltosis? I don't know. The base Kia Seltos vehicles, they come with a 2-liter naturally aspirated engine, made it to a CVT. The naturally aspirated engine produces less horsepower, so we get the better combination here, pretty much. The engine has made it to a dual clutch transmission in this one. We have a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and like I said, on 195 horsepower, 175 pound-feet of torque, plenty. You don't really need more. Like merging on the highway, overtaking on the highway, all that, no issue whatsoever. You won't ever feel the need for more horsepower, honestly. But before we go into all the details of the drivetrain and yada yada yada, why don't we just do the fun part, which is launching it once. We got all-wheel drive here, so let's see. Let's kick out on the flatbed. Just a little flatter. We don't want to get downhill. That would be cheating, right? Okay, so let's put into sport. Transmission into sport. Not start and stop. Thank you. Took a long time to get out the road there, get off the spot there. It just kind of floored and just waited, and then it did go. But it's reasonably fast, definitely. And it shifts pretty quickly. I have one big issue though with it, but we'll get to that in a second. I just want to say, so we have sport mode, and it shifts pretty well. Let me just go here. It's like downshift, there it is. Upshift is pretty much instantly, like almost instantly. It's not like supercar level or proper sports car level, but it's pretty quick and you won't need it any quicker, trust me. But what I wanted to say, there's one big issue with the transmission, and that is that it likes to hold on to lower gears when you're driving slowly, like in the city, for example. I don't know why it does that. I guess maybe it's probably because the Kia engineers try to prioritize like responsiveness of the car over fuel economy, but it's not really needed because it also happens when you don't really give it much gas either. You just regular driving, it does it, and the engine produces enough torque and like power down low that you don't really need it to hold on. It's not much, so it really just holds on like for those extra 200-300 revolutions per minute. But that is maybe one of the big contributors, because if you look at the fuel economy ratings, they're not that great compared to other competitors in this class. And that, I think, is probably one of the contributors to the fuel economy rating for the city. But the fuel economy rating for the highway is, I forgot right now, sorry, I'll have it on screen. I think it's 7.6 liters or something per 100 kilometers on the highway, which is really weird. I've read it up, watched other reviews, read Car and Driver and stuff like that, and they were like, yeah, so the fuel economy is not that good. We can basically confirm what the EPA in that case found out. The thing is, I can absolutely not confirm that at all. Like, the highway rating is way off. Like, my normal driving style is pretty good on gas by itself. I'm always like hitting the rating, maybe being a bit below that, but I'm not too bad on gas. But I'm never that far off, and I mean in a good way. The rating is, like I said, around 7.6. I was hitting under 7 liters per 100 kilometers multiple times, once even going down to 6.3 liters per 100 kilometers, and that without even really trying. I was a bit more conservative on that run, I'll be honest, but I am certain that I can, if I want to and really try, get this car down to 6 liters, maybe even 5.9 liters per 100 kilometers. So I don't know where the EPA, where like the fuel economy ratings come from, like how are they so far off? They must be, like, I don't know how they're driving. But personally, I can absolutely tell you from my own experience, you can get way better fuel economy than it's rated at. You can easily get under 7 if you drive normal, like somewhat conservatively 6.5. It's entirely possible. I don't know where that comes from. So, but that was a good surprise to know that it's much better. So right now, with 623 kilometers driven in the Seltos, remember that is maybe about 400 kilometers highway. I don't know, about 400 kilometers highway, I'll just say. And that includes idling a lot of times for reviews and stuff like that, right? Getting the interior shots, getting the exterior shots. That often includes idling, so that's absolutely atrocious for fuel economy. That also includes spirited driving and all that. So this is not like, if I wouldn't be doing these things, it would be low. So right now I'm sitting at 8 liters per 100 kilometers for 623 kilometers. That is combined, right? And that's already less than the combined fuel economy. Probably it's just like in the city I'm hitting about 8.5, I'm guessing. While on the highway I'm hitting 6.5, low 7s, high 6s, I mean, sorry. So yeah, you can get better fuel economy, it says. So let's talk about handling. The handling is actually pretty decent. Like, I was surprised by it, honestly. Like, I can just show you for a second. I can't do much, of course, but that was just to show you like the turn-in is really good. Of course, if you just do it real quick, it won't happen that much. Like, not that much will happen, but if you hold it for a second, it'll just really turn in. So it's surprisingly darty and surprisingly sporty. It's not like unsettling or anything. It's just really good, really well set up. But let's talk about the more general part of like the suspension and the handling. Is bump skips are pretty well. Big bumps, you can really feel how you go up and down, just kind of does well. Like smaller bumps, like right here, railroad tracks, they get to you a little bit, but it's not too bad at all. It's still kind of a budget SUV, right? So you have to expect that it's not an S-Class in terms of like suspension. I was never uncomfortable at any point. It was totally fine. So they did a good job on that one. And yeah, in general, visibility is pretty good. We got small C-pillars, so we don't have an issue with like blind spots or anything. And the driving position itself is actually pretty comfortable. Like the position of the wheels, the position of the pedals, with the seat and all that, it's actually really good. I was very, very comfortable in this car. But while we're talking about comfort and so on, why don't we just throw it over to the interior? All right, interior of the Seltos. And let's just first of all start with the materials. It's built to a budget, obviously. So we have a lot of plastics in a lot of spaces here. Especially the cheapest part of the whole interior is the center stack where we got our cup holders, which just looks kind of like they forgot about it and just put something in there. I'll be honest, it doesn't look great, but it's built to a budget. That is to be expected. Everything we touch is mostly leather. So we got leather down here at the doors. Our steering wheel is leather, which actually feels really nice. It feels a lot softer than the steering wheels from like Infinity, even when they're luxury mark. So that feels nice. Also, our dashboard here has leather, so they did a really good job in terms of materials. I liked in the Trailblazer, I just keep comparing it to the Trailblazer. In the Trailblazer, I like the different materials they used and the accents they gave it. That looked pretty nice. So maybe it looked a bit nicer in the Trailblazer, but I think the Seltos is also pretty good. But the main positive, like the main pro about this interior is clearly the tech we got here. Like we have a 10.3-inch display for our infotainment. First of all, the quality is good. It's almost as good as a phone, and essentially screen-wise, and it's super responsive. I've never been in a car that had an infotainment system that is this responsive. They've done a really good job. It's well laid out, easy to use, and has a lot of features too. It's a pleasure to use. Also comes with navigation. Looking at you, Chevy. Anyhow, no, like the tech is really good in this, and it's all laid out well. Our HVAC controls down here, so for our climate and so on, are a big screen, but all the buttons are hard buttons, which actually it looks really nice. Like this is like the design itself of the whole center stack is really good. I think it looks super upscale, and it's super easy to use. Further down, we got our heated and cooled seats. Not many cars have cooled seats, especially in this segment. If you've never been in cooled seats, by the way, in a car with cooled seats, it feels really weird at first. It's cool, but it feels really weird. It's like a wall sucking all the heat out of you, and just kind of like a bit like your soul leaving your body, but it's just the cold. It's kind of weird, but it's really cool. But it's winter, so I always used heated seats, and heated steering wheels worked great. And furthermore, we have a wireless phone charger, which I really appreciate, and I love the position it is in, because it's all the way down there, like under our HVAC controls and really deep. That makes it hard to grab our phone, so it disencourages people grabbing their phone while driving, which I think is a really good idea. Good job, Kia. And yeah, furthermore, our seats, we talked about them. Huge bolstering, which is really interesting. Like the first day I wasn't really getting comfortable in this car, because I was kind of like, okay, where do I go? Because I'm not the tallest, right? So if I want to drive like this, first of all, I wish the center console would be a bit longer, because I can't put my elbow down there. Bigger people can. I can, unfortunately. And also, I'm not entirely clearing the bolster here. You know, I've only just kind of had to get used to that a little. But after a day, like the next time I got in the car, and the second day, I was like, okay, this is actually comfortable. I got comfortable. It's a comfortable interior. It just took a bit for me. But the seats are nice, full leather, feel great. And yeah, I think that's about everything here in the front row of the car. Oh, we also have, of course, we have a sunroof, which is nice. And I like that, like our lights turn on. I can't do it right now because there we go. They turn on with just a touch of the ring, so you don't really have to press the button. You just have to touch the metal ring around the light, which is really nice. But that's the interior in the front. Let's just hop in the back. Why don't we do that? Okay, now in the back row. First of all, I think it's pretty easy to get in and out. I don't know quite what it is. I think there's just a lot of room here, and the doors open pretty wide. So it's really easy to get in and out. And the space is really good. Like headroom, plenty. Footroom, plenty. Legroom, extra plenty. Of course, sitting behind myself, 5'7", not the tallest. I have plenty of room, but like you could even sit 6 feet person in front, 6 feet person in the back. Shouldn't be an issue. I have easily a feet of room here. No issues whatsoever. And we got full leather seats with a bit of leather here on the door. Everything else is plastic, so it's not quite as nice up in front. But like I said, these things are built to a budget, so it's kind of to be expected. At the same time, we got the nice design of our speakers. Just we have in the front, we got one USB charger, so if you have 2 kids, you probably want to buy like a split USB connector, otherwise they're going to fight over that. If you need a bit more cup holders, we have quite a bit of storage up here in the sides already, but if you need like proper cup holders, you got 2 right in here. And yeah, I think it's pretty easy to get comfortable back here. I could do a pretty long trip probably here without having ever any issues with comfort whatsoever. Also, we can, it's a bit finicky, but we can recline, so if you just want to, you know, just take a little nap back here, that's easily possible. But I prefer to do that in the trunk. The finicky part is getting it back up in the proper position and just like, there you go, just kind of have to smash it a little because you have to get it further up front. But it's really nice. I like it. Also, markings where the child seat mounts are. It's really good. Let's just go further back and take a look at the trunk. Why don't we do that? Okay, now let's take a look at the trunk. Unlike the Trailblazer, this is manual, so you can't just kick down there and it opens up. I personally don't really care about it because I don't carry much often, but if you're maybe somebody who often goes grocery shopping and like big shopping sprees, or maybe has to carry a baby on one hand and has to carry groceries on the other hand, I can understand how you maybe want to have an automatic trunk opening. But space-wise, there's definitely plenty of space. You won't have an issue with that. You can lay down the back seats if you need to. The Trailblazer had the ability to also lay on the front passenger seat, but that's probably very situational, but it's nice to have. This doesn't have it, but overall I think there's plenty of stuff, plenty of room, pardon me. Also down here you have a spare tire, and if you need to, you can cram a lot more stuff down there, and maybe groceries or whatever you want to hide from someone. I don't know what that could be, but you be the judge of that. Anyhow, plenty of space. Like I shall suggest, I told you, I prefer to take naps down here. Probably, if I want to do that, I'll take the cover out, just because, you know, in the morning when you get up and just don't want to just bunk against that, it's kind of uncomfortable. But in of itself, it's a nice space. It's all right. I've got a bit of I don't have as much legroom as I like to have when I sleep in these kind of cars, but it's all right. I could probably sleep like 2 or 3 years in here. Just, you know, nothing really much. But let's get out of here. Plenty of room. There's not much more to say. I think it's really good. Why don't we, I just wish we had one more of those on this side, because sometimes you're on this side and you're just kind of like, it's not quite as comfortable. Anyhow, why don't we just continue with the regular review. Also a cool piece of tech, which is just, it's kind of a gimmick, but we got like mood lighting under the passenger side dashboard and on the doors, which just adds a little bit of flavor. It's not really that bright, so it's sometimes hard to see if you have like darker colors like blue or red on it, but also has the music plasma, which is just kind of hilarious. So it syncs to the music you're playing. It's based on the microphone, so if you have it too low, it won't recognize it, and it's not perfectly synced, right? It's not actively working with the music it gets. It's just kind of based on sound, but it's just a fun gimmick, and for that price you're paying for this car, to have something like that, it's just hilarious. I love it. And it's just, you know, it's those little things that make a car really memorable. And I like that. I thought it was a funny touch. We talked about tech. Tech is not only limited to the interior of the Seltos though, because we also have pretty good tech while driving. We have a lot of safety assists, but first of all, let's talk about the cruise control and the lane keep assist. Hyundai Kia has really good lane keep assist. It's not an autonomous, okay, Jesus Christ, that was my audio. It's not an autonomous system or anything, but for a lane keep assist, it's incredibly advanced and does a great job. Like on the highway, if you got cruise control on the highway driving assist, it's called the lane keep assist essentially. It technically, in most situations, is able to drive itself. It's not an autonomous system. Hold your steering wheel nicely and be ready to brake. It's not perfect. Sometimes it just snaps out. Sometimes it's a bit jerky. But most of the time, in almost all situations on regular highways, it keeps you in the lane centered. It drives around corners by itself. So it keeps a good distance. It does all that really well, which is just, especially for this price, really nice to have. I love the feature. I love that feature. I love the system. I've been using it every time I have a Hyundai Kia Genesis product, and I love it. It's great. It's especially, you know, when you maybe just you had a long day, in my case, shooting videos. It's really nice to just put on the music and basically let the car drive itself. But still, of course, you still have to monitor it all. You can't just drift off or anything. You still have to focus on the road, but it's still a difference between you watching what the car does and holding your steering wheel, being ready, and just actively doing it all the time, right? So that's really nice, just to give you like a 5-minute break or something. And in general, it has a lot of safety systems, which is really nice to have. So we have automatic emergency braking. We have the warnings too, right? It beeps at you before it brakes. We have rear cross traffic. Sorry, I've been talking for a bit. It's just kind of we have rear cross traffic alert. There we go. Also, if you open the door while parked and a car is coming, it warns you about that. There's just a lot of tech in here, which is really nice to have another layer of safety, especially maybe if you're having a family and transporting your children or anything, right? It's always good to have a bit more safety. Speaking of systems though, I have one more issue, and that is the start-stop system. It is pretty annoying. I never liked those systems to begin with. Most of the time I don't really have too much of an issue with it to really bother turning it off. But this one gets on my nerves occasionally. I'm sure if you have it longer, you kind of get used to it, but it was during my week of testing, I got annoyed by it a couple of times. The thing is, once again, they probably try to give you like a bit more response to everything. So let's say you come to a stop by pressing 2/3 of the brake pedal. It's just arbitrary number, but that's the number, you know, it needs a little more effort to keep the brake pedal pressed down that far. So if you then, because you're standing already, reduce your input to maybe a quarter or a fifth, which would still be plenty to keep the car where it is, it would restart the engine. Which is like I'm sorry, I don't want to hold down the brake pedal with like 10 pounds of force for 2 minutes. I'm sorry that I lift it, and then it just restarts it. And also the restarts itself are just kind of like really uncomfortable. I say really, it's somewhat uncomfortable. Just, you know, when it happens at times we don't expect it. Also, it likes to shut down the engine just after you like started driving, so it shuts it down after 3 seconds on the at the traffic light. It starts it off again, starts it again because well, it's getting cold. It's like, duh, yeah, of course. If you shut it down instantly after I started, it's gonna get cold. It's not the biggest complaint ever. I'll be honest. It's just something that I don't really like the system, so I'm probably a bit more, a bit easier to get annoyed by one of those systems. But that's just something I noticed, and that's a lot of cars do that a little better. And it would be fine if you could just turn it off and whatever, but no, you have to turn it off every single time you do it, because it automatically keeps enabling itself at every start. With just if you don't have such a good system, please just give me the ability to permanently disable it. Like I said, not the biggest complaint. There's way worse things. Still, the pros, I think, heavily outweigh the negatives here. And you know what? Why don't we just weigh it all up and see how it compares, for example, to the Trailblazer by sending it off to the final thoughts. Conclusion time. I really like the Seltos. I think it's a great SUV at a great value, especially that one. Of course, there's so many competitors, and you can't really say just one is the best, because everybody has, you know, different needs and so on. But personally, the Seltos really fulfills what I want to have if I buy such a vehicle. Very few nitpicks, you know, just like a bit annoying is the start-stop's pretty annoying to me. I'll be honest, that's kind of a big negative. It might be minor for some, but for me it's pretty big. But overall, the thing is, it looks good, it's comfortable, the tech is really good, like really, 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 really good. And in general, I think if I were to look at one of those vehicles, if I want to have a subcompact SUV, the Seltos is really far on top of my list, and I would definitely check it out if I were you. Comparing it to the Trailblazer, just because we had it recently, it's a clear blowout. I'm sorry, Chevy. I like the Trailblazer. It wasn't bad at all. It's just, for me, the better handling in the engine just is one big pro for me. But the biggest one is just the tech. It's just so much more tech. Also the cool seats, heated seats, the infotainment is way better. That's what I value in a car. Like I said, everybody has different values, so maybe you have a different opinion, just post down in the comments below. But I really like the Seltos, and I highly suggest you checking out a Seltos, maybe taking a test drive, if it's possible right now. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, please, I already said it, I know, but make sure to subscribe, like the video, maybe comment down below, just so we get more cars like this and get cool cars to show you here on the channel. I can continue this. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great one. Bye. Okay, so the exterior of the Kia Seltos. I think it generally looks good. But what Jesus Christ. Also, we have these, like the mesh, like the also the grille has some cool design features. Also, like the angular look of the grille just adds a little bit of